now all of our renewals will be coming via email and digitally. So we have to keep our eyes open for that. I think we've pretty much been doing it that way. As far as renewal, but as far as the license coming in digital form. Is that correct, Barbara and Jane? That's the gist of it.
That's correct.
So we all have to be aware that we'll be getting an email about our fee, and then finally or subsequently getting our license digitally.
Correct.
I assume we'll have to cut straight along the edges.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, in that memo, is he looking for us to respond in regard to whether we want our address on the license or not?
Yes.
Okay, my position, I'd prefer if the address was not on it.
Okay.
Was what, not in favor of it?
Oh, not in favor of having my address on my license,
Oh,
just the name.
if that's the question, I would agree. We move around and our private address should be kept off. I would agree.
Okay.
Is there a consensus or a motion? You want to make a motion on that, Ken, so we can respond
Yeah,
officially?
I'd make a motion that our license have our name only and no residential address. Or no address, period.
Yeah, no address.
Yep.
Right.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Bob. Is there any other discussion? Would that be something that Jane, you would notify and respond to that for us? When,
I will do that to
okay,
Michael.
so it's been moved and seconded that we, as a board, have a consensus that we would prefer not to have our name, excuse me, not to have our private address or any address on our license renewal. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Thank you, Ken, for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
So we can notify that response. Then we had a list of candidates who passed the CBT exams between September and November. A variety of civil, mechanical, transportation, HVAC. So that was the, for information purposes, item D. Then we have another list of candidates who passed the 2-hour state exam and issued licenses. Jason Bueller from Tucson and Joel Kubrick from North Falmouth, Massachusetts. I guess there's a lot of work to be done here in Connecticut. That's good. And I think what we can do right now also, before we move on to the applications, is review that item of our policy. I think that we wanted to introduce to Jane or refresh everyone's memory or put it back on the record. But I don't know if this is C1 or G1. Let's put it on G1. That's where it is. This is something that John DeWolf put together for us. And it's a summary of why we're using our policy, which is that we require an undergraduate engineering curriculum. And John points out the reasons for this, and that we need a strong educational background in the math, science, and engineering and design. And the model law speaks to that objective. And Jane, we have consistently for more than 20 years and close to 25 been advised that we can implement our policy, which is to be very consistent in that every applicant must demonstrate having met the qualifications that we require, which is the 4-year undergraduate curriculum or equivalent. The equivalent comes up when at certain times applicants may be applying for a master's or an advanced program having had a less than full engineering curriculum. And those applicants who have made an effort and completed courses that reflect completion of the undergraduate program, those are conditions or situations when we can waiver slightly from our policy. But the degree has to be accredited. We do have the provision for evaluating foreign degrees through NCEES. And then, of course, they have to pass both exams, the fundamentals and the professional exam. So is that about a sufficient summary, John, or should you add more?
I think I understood you. Yes. I'm still having problems.
Okay.
Tony?
Anybody else want to add to it? Bob?
Yes. A couple meetings ago, I can't remember when, I asked for a copy or an update of the regulation or the legislation change that we wanted to pursue. And I was going to give that to Senator Needleman, who promised to help us move it through. Is it possible to get a copy of the latest?
I'm still looking for it, Bob, because I was looking through emails with Steve Schwain. So now I think I have a little bit of time to go through all the boxes of stuff that I have.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I apologize. I didn't tell you that's what I was having issues, but does he have a deadline date when he needs that?
No,
Okay.
I was just gonna get it to him. It's only been 20 years, Barbara, so
I know, so another
a
20,
week or two
20
is not
days.
gonna make
Yeah,
a difference, I don't think.
Yeah, now with Jane taking over a lot of the stuff, I also have to clean out a lot of stuff. So I know I must have had it from one of the last agendas that it was on. So I was going through emails, through Steve Schwain's emails, because he was the last one who worked with it, and I couldn't find anything. So I haven't forgotten about it, but I am going to go through all the old agendas that I had, and then start chucking them after that. So I'll still be looking for it, Bob.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you, Bob. So I guess each of us probably has it tucked away somewhere. I'll make myself a note too to try to find it. Yeah, we forget from time to time that we have to do that, but I got it on the yellow pad this morning, so let's see if I can remember to do it this week.
Okay.
And then the next item on our regular agenda is the current board schedule suggested for 2023. Again, on a quick glance, I can't see anything that conflicts with something, but anybody see anything problematic? If not, is there a motion to accept that calendar?
So moved.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ken. All those in favor of the motion to approve the suggested current board schedule for 2023, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And then, following our other policy, which is, I guess it's more of a courtesy for Curtis that we hit.
Thank you, Tony. You're all right.
Courtesy for Curtis and Ken. We have 4 applicants for surveying disciplines. We have 2 for Class 6 exam credit part 1, which is Jeffrey Frechette and Brian Shepard. So is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve Frechette and Shepard under Class 6 credit part 1.
Is there a second, Ken?
I'll second that.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. We had 2 other applicants.
Can I intervene for one moment? Who was the
Yes.
second? Who seconded the motion, please?
Ken Peterson.
Thank you.
And then we have two applicants, Felix Salas Sanchez and Greg Shunk for Class 8 exam.
Motion to approve Sanchez Salas, or Salas Sanchez, I'm sorry, and Shunk for class 8 reciprocity.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bob. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve Salas Sanchez and Shunk for Class 8 exams, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing on that motion carried. And I believe, minutes, our minutes from our last meeting, which would be
3 of them.
August 9th and October 4th. Has anybody had a chance to review them? Because I have not. And if I'm not the only one who missed them,
I can't find them at the moment.
right?
I haven't-
Nor can I. I don't suppose we have a real problem in preferring those, because I honestly don't have them and don't know where they might be. And I don't recall actually seeing them. And it could be,
They were attached to the meeting invitation.
and that's where I fell apart because I didn't have the right notice. Anyway, I don't have them. I don't know if anybody else does, so.
It may be attached to the one that I resent to you today, because I sent the entire invite. I didn't
Okay.
just do the link, so you may have those in there.
I just found them. They came in just today.
Yeah, I had to resend the invite for chairman to join today, but that went out originally with the invite when I sent it, I think just before I went on vacation.
Yeah, I have it here.
I have
11,
Okay,
11/23, 22. Yeah, they're there.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I haven't read them. If anybody has any comments, then let's reference them now. I don't know if anybody else has. Otherwise, we'll table it till January. I'm
Let's
a
table
little
it.
lost. All right. So motion to table it, Kurt.
Yes, motion
Second.
to table.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. So there's a motion to table the minutes review for August 9th and October 4th, and we'll review them in January on January 10th. Is there any, all those in favor of the motion to table the minutes until January 10th, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries, so we'll table it, but I'll look for them and
Okay, who
Take
was
care
the
of it.
first? Who was the first to
I
motion?
was, Kurt was.
Perfect, thank you.
okay. A little haphazard here this morning, but I think we're back on track. And I think that also concludes the work that would involve surveyors. Unless they want to stay, we can move on to the regular agenda for the engineering applications.
Okay, thank you
Chris.
very much.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay,
Thanks
next year.
all.
Have a good holiday.
Enjoy
Have
the
a good
holidays.
holiday, everybody.
Hopefully, everybody survives the stress and joy of the month.
Yes.
All right, thank
All right,
you.
take care.
Take care.
So that moves us into our regular agenda of review of applications. I started the first group. On what turns out to be page 3 of our current regular agenda. We have Class 1 exam credit part 1. I reviewed the applications for Byrne through Williams. I found them all to be in order. I know, I don't know why. I thought it interesting on Mr. Kevin McMullen. Worked his way through UConn with a PhD, and he's got his EIT and he's going to take the exam. So that's good. So anyway, I would recommend approval of all 6 applicants burned through Williams. Is there a motion to accept my recommendation?
So moved.
Thank you, Robert.
Second.
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of the motion to approve burn through Williams, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And John DeWolf reviewed Bartlett through Zadran, 6 applicants on page 3, all for class 1, credit part 1.
Okay, Bartlett has a BS from Central with 5 years, 10 months experience. That's okay, isn't it?
Yes, because he has a civil engineering, not a technology program.
2 of them have foreign degrees, which were both evaluated, including the last one on the list, Zadran, is from Afghanistan and did his bachelor's there, and it was fully equivalent. So I move approval of Bartlett through Zadran.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Bob, thank you. All those in favor of the motion to approve Bartlett through Zadran, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And then Bob Doan reviewed Coulard, Eaton, Hatcher, Rudolph. And Rudolph had been tabled to provide dates of experience. So Bob Doan,
Yes, for Michael Couliard, he has less than 4 years experience. He has 3.75 years, but he's counting 5 months before his graduation also. And so I think we need to deny that, and he needs 4 years of experience after graduation.
all right, so there's a motion to deny Michael Couillard. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to deny Michael Couillard, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries.
Excuse me, Bob. So he has, you're saying 3.5 years roughly? So how many months does he need? Maybe 6 months or no?
Yeah, I don't think he can count the time before graduation.
Right, no, you can't.
And so he needs he needs at least I would say 9 months maybe.
9 months or so. Thank you.
Yeah. Just for the total of 4.
I thought so, but yeah, okay.
So
Okay.
again, Jane, just for clarification there, you can't count the time in school and oftentimes as a graduate assistant also toward your experience. Agreed, everybody?
Yes.
Agreed.
So in this case, he was counting experience. He might have been working while he's going to school, but that doesn't count for experience in our policy. Agreed?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that leaves us up to Eaton, Hatcher, Rudolph.
Eaton, Hatcher, and Rudolph, I make a motion to approve credit part 1.
How long you been sick, Bob?
Yeah, I'll mask up if it makes you feel better.
It's going around.
It is.
Everybody sounds just like you do right now.
I did not avoid the flu.
Second to Bob's motion.
Second.
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. I reviewed the next group of class 4 applicants. In the style of Rob Lewandowski, out of 16 applicants, 12 of them were model law. And I had about half were advanced degrees. So I would accept the my recommendation is to approve all of the applicants from Brew through Ramirez on page 3 and Searcy through Walker on page 4. I'm going back and forth between the two different agendas that I worked with, but that's why. So anyway, my recommendation is to approve all of the applicants on page 3 and 4 for class 4 reciprocity.
So moved.
Thank you, Richard.
Second,
Thank you, Robert. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Rob Lewandowski provided a very thorough matrix spreadsheet and a cover letter explaining his review. He recommends approval of all. He did want to point out that Anne Marie Puzio had a variety of degrees. She was a non-metal engineer primarily because she started out with a bachelor's of geoscience, and then she had a master's in civil and environmental from University of California with PE licenses in New York and New Jersey and 15 years of experience. And his review was that the engineering curriculum, base engineering curriculum, was well covered. And therefore he would recommend approval of Anne Marie Puzio. And also in that list was Michael Rezick. He had a non-model law due to a foreign degree. It was evaluated and found to be equivalent. So his recommendation is to approve all the applicants assay through a 0 on page 4 of our regular agenda. Is there a motion to accept his recommendation?
so move.
Thank you, Robert. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of the motion to approve as A through 0 on page 4, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And for what it's worth on Rob's review, the extensive experience on virtually everybody is impressive. Everybody's been at it for a long time and wanting to work or register in Connecticut. John DeWolf reviewed the next group of applicants for class 4, Ahmed through Schloss on page 4 and Shahzad through Wilson on page 5.
Okay, I move approval of all of them with the requirement that we check daily to see that he's currently licensed. His license expires in this month, in November of this year. So we need to verify that he's currently licensed, and then he's okay, and all the others are fine.
All right. Is there a second to the motion to approve all of the applicants Ahmad through Schloss and Shahad through Wilson, subject to verification of John Daly?
Second,
Thank you, Robert. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carried. And Richard Swezak reviewed the next group of applicants from ADEF through Zemzicki on page 5 for class 4 reciprocity.
Okay, I'm gonna start with two applicants. Yoshin Moa. He had a foreign degree from China. And it was a math and science degree. And he does have a Master of Science from the University of Kansas, but his foreign degree was not evaluated by NCEES as to whether it was equivalent to an engineering degree, because on his application he says it was a math and science degree. So I think that what we need to do is get verification of his degree, whether it's equivalent, his undergraduate degree from China.
So at this point, your motion is to deny his reciprocity due to the undergraduate math degree.
Correct. Well, it's a math and science, but we don't know if it's equivalent to an engineering degree, correct?
Okay,
It needs to
So-
be, we need an evaluation of his degree in order to.
all right, that's fair. So the motion then would be to request an NCAAS evaluation.
Correct.
Okay. So a second to the motion?
Second,
Thank you, John.
Then the next applicant, Ryan
Wait,
J.
Rich,
Oh.
let's vote on that.
Okay, sorry.
So it's been moved and seconded to advise Mr. Mayo that he needs an evaluation from NCAAS for his undergraduate degree in China.
Correct.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carried. All right,
And
then, yeah,
the
next,
applicant, Ryan J. Meacham. He has an engineering technology degree from CCSU. And he graduated in 2017. But what he needs 7 years of experience with a technology degree after graduation. And basically, he only has 4 years after graduation. I think he was counting on some 2 years and 5 months before he graduated, but even with that, he doesn't really have enough, experience. But in reality, it's 7 years after he gets his degree, not, while he's working, he can count on his degree. So I say that, he requires additional experience in order to conform with our requirements for, the type of degree that he has.
okay,
Richard, what state does he have a license in?
Maine.
Me?
Actually, he got his fundamentals in Connecticut in 2022, this year. And he got his, PE out of Maine in this year also.
Mhm.
I think like in October or something, so he's, I'm not sure. But, he definitely does not meet our requirements.
No.
okay. So the motion is to deny Mr. Ryan Meacham due to a lack of experience following the degree,
Correct.
okay? Is there a second to the motion?
Second,
Thank you, John. All those in favor of the motion to deny Ryan Meacham due to a lack of experience following the degree based on the engineering technology degree. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries.
And then I'll make a motion that we accept the applications from the remainder of the applicants, I guess, a deaf through Legaputi and Moni through Zemzitsky with the requirements that Derek Heckler, I didn't see a verification that, he has his fundament, his principles of engineering from Ohio, but I didn't see a documentation from the state of Ohio that he has it, so that, we just need to verify that.
Which one is that?
Mr. Heckler, Derek,
Oh, Heckler.
correct.
Subject to verification of what?
That his principles of engineering were passed in the state of Ohio.
Oh, okay.
And also the fact that Paul Moni, I didn't see any verification. He has his fundamentals and his principles out of Texas. And I did not see any documentation that, the state of Texas gave, and maybe it was just lost in the transmission that, I didn't see any kind of a verification from the state of Texas for his.
Sorry, what applicant was that?
Paul Moni.
question. Do you have the cover page that has all the information on it?
I do.
Does that say, does that list
It-
exam?
It does, but normally what happens is we give verification through, the states themselves that information is there. And I,
If
So
that
I-
cover
I-
page- If that cover page indicates that the person is passed that exam, I don't look for the verification.
oh,
I take that cover page from NCEES as a verification. I'm just telling you how I do it. If I'm not doing it wrong, please correct me. But I don't look through all that information to find the actual verification.
because normally what I do is I do verify that, they do have the degrees that they think they have and that they do have, the documentation from the different states for their fundamentals and principles. So, and maybe I'm getting overzealous in terms of, what I need to do, but,
Either that or I'm getting underzealous because I don't look for the actual verification if it's on that form. I do look at experience. I don't accept the experience that's on that form, but if it's got the other things checked off, I figure that it's been verified.
and you're probably correct in terms of, you are correct. The only thing that I find is occasionally, there are typos in the applications that, from what NCEES thinks happens to, what the actual documentation that we get is sometimes a little different. So, I just sort of verify that, everything that they have on their NCEES evaluation is consistent with the information that is presented to us. So,
Right. We
and
either-
again, I don't, if it's just verifications, then, I don't mind that, we don't do it, but, I basically, I have been double checking everything.
Right. There is an inconsistency in the information we get, for example, sometimes we have the NCEES sheet and it says, it talks about the exams they took. Other times we get an application with a state listing the exams that they took in that state. Sometimes they have different states where they took the EIT and the PE, so we do have a difference of sources. I agree.
Just so Richard would know, because I went to look at the NCS record and I may have neglected to print that page. So for Heckler, there is verification of him sitting for both the FE and the PE exam in that state with an expiration date of 2023.
Okay,
And then the other one for Paul Money, he's the same thing. I had verification that he sat for both exams in that one state. And it
okay.
is a current license. So
Okay,
that could have been me that may neglected to put that page.
All right, just Barbara, while we still have you, could you double check Willis? That he has his fundamentals out of California?
Sure, I can do that.
That was Willis, Clay Willis.
Correct, Clay Willis.
Righty. Okay, so FE, I do have verification from, what state was it here? That verified it. California.
Correct,
Yeah, so he took that exam in 85
correct.
for him. Yeah. And then
And
he
then
also,
one, and then one more, sorry about that.
that's okay.
Zimzicki is his fundamentals from Virginia.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, they take the fundamentals in one state and, the
Yeah, and
principles
like
in another, and, you get one, but not the other. And they do reference the fact that, the fundamentals were from another state, but
Yeah.
just to dot the i's and cross the t's. And maybe I'm getting too picky.
No, but you know what happens? Sometimes they do mention it, and that was just my bad on that one. Okay, what do we look for, Zamiki?
Zimik, right, Zimziki.
And we're looking for,
The fundamentals from Virginia in 2009.
okay. Yep, that one's verified. They filled out the form themselves from Virginia, so I have
All right.
that.
All right, so I'll make a motion with those verifications that we accept all the applicants. You know, the remainder of the applicants, other than Mao and Meacham.
So it's been moved and seconded by Barbara. No, it's been moved by.
Okay,
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you, Robert. All those in favor of the motion to approve ADEF through Legalupi and Moni through Zemziki, say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Bob Doan reviewed the next group of applicants for class 4 reciprocity. Abu Gabel through Whitkin on page 5.
yes, I reviewed all 15, and all but 3 of them were model law engineers. Yosef Abu Gabel had an equivalent degree from Qatar, and it was determined to be equivalent. And Kevin Kaufman has a degree from Rutgers in a BS in civil engineering and environmental engineering, and it's not listed as ABET, and that was a 2013 degree. And I was wondering if that is I looked at the transcript, and the transcript seemed okay, but if it's not ABET, should we get an evaluation of it? I don't know.
You know that it's not ABET accredited because, how did we know?
Well, it wasn't, only because it wasn't listed as such, Tony, and he's listed as being a non-model law engineer. And that is the one item that is missing. Is his ABET degree. And it's a bachelor's in civil and environmental engineering from Rutgers.
Should be okay. It's funny they didn't list, unless environmental throws it off. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's what it does, but in the transcript, and just as last couple of semesters, he has materials lab, he has transportation, he has soil mechanics lab, he has reinforced concrete, theory of indeterminate structures, reinforced concrete lab, water and wastewater engineering, transportation planning, foundation engineering. I think he has a good degree. I just was curious as to why it wasn't listed as a, but maybe the environmental throws it off.
Yeah, sounds okay to me.
Okay, all right. And I need a verification of his license for Kaufman also. The verification goes to April of 2020.
Okay.
All right. So with that condition for Kaufman, that we verify his a current license. I make a motion to approve the entire group.
there a second?
Oh.
Sorry, Richard
Mhm.
or John?
I
Second,
did, but.
Oh, I give it to John.
okay, give it to John.
It's moved by Richard, moved by Robert and seconded by John DeWolf.
Can I
Approve.
make one comment, Tony,
Yes,
before
sir,
we vote?
absolutely.
For Nathan Stark, he was a non-model law because of disciplinary action. He had a federal offense, and he stated that he had information regarding that. And I don't know if that's in our purview or not to review that. The information was not in the package that I got. And I just chose, I guess, to ignore it.
What was his, I missed what you said about what was the problem?
I didn't get details of the problem. It was a federal offense. And he said in his application, he said that the details were attached, and I didn't have any details on it.
Hey, just as some information now, just so there is now consistency. If there is any issues regarding felonies or anything else, those are brought, those are first brought to the Director of Licensed Services. And he makes the determination whether the application can now go to the board for review. So he takes care of that part of it, any of the felony issues and anything like that. If it was something that needed more to be looked at, then that application would be presented to the investigation unit to continue on a process. So before you see it, it's already gone through a process, through our in-house process, so you don't have to worry about that aspect of it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I'm all set, Tony. Thanks.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve Abu Gabel through Whitkin on page 5. All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And that brings us to page 6, where we have a list of applicants, Belmont through Wolanski for Class 9 license. Is there a motion to approve the issuance of the license?
So moved.
Thank you, Richard. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Robert. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries.
Tony, do we still have a quorum?
A quorum.
Just 4 of us?
Yep. Now that we made all those votes, it's a good time to ask that
I
question.
know. I just.
Where is Al when we need him? And plus, we've been making you do all that talking. You're making my
We're
eyes
only
water. Huh?
We're only missing Al and Bob,
Right.
and so I think that we should be okay. I thought the same thing earlier, but then I realized.
Okay.
Good.
Right,
Because we don't
sorry.
have, because we don't have a full board right now, because we have those 3 vacancies. So you have to do it from that amount, so.
Wow, I didn't realize that many had dropped off the meeting. 3.
Al never made it. And then the other members were surveying members. These were all engineering items.
Yeah, yes. I mean, in general, it requires 5 members for votes. It doesn't break down into surveying and engineering.
I don't follow that. That I can't vote on surveying and they can't vote on engineering.
Yeah, it doesn't break, it just gives a percentage of the board in total.
If you looked at it that way, we haven't been officially formulated for 20 years.
Yeah.
So that,
Okay, so if we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, if we factored it off of 51% of 5 people, we would have enough members. Because you have 5 engineers, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
And one public, you know,
Yeah, so
so that would be 6.
so
So 50% of 6 would be
51
3. And if we're
51%
four-
of 6 is a little after 3, so 4
Right.
people would be required. So I believe we're all set.
So we have 4. Okay.
Good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you for,
Sorry, Tony.
No, but you know,
No,
I never broke it down in that way. It's just like this board requires this percent. So, you know, that's something to maybe make note of on my little guide.
okay.
All
Well,
right.
usually Al is there. Maybe he's in the background, so he's been raising his hand the whole time. I don't know. But we'll keep track of it for the future, but you're right. I think we have to go on the basis of the quorum that we have of the professionals that are applicable to the review.
Correct.
And I believe we're still under the assumption and policy that the legal department has reviewed the applications and credentials for the corporate practice of professional engineering. Is that correct?
Licensed services.
Licensed services, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
reviewed by licensed services, okay?
Yep.
And that leads us to ADA Architects, Inc., which are perhaps misleading a little bit for the corporate practice of engineering. We've often had that discussion. Are we architects or engineers?
Just as a side note, and I should have written it in there, they do hold a registration as an architectural firm as well. So they do, so they can use the word architects for this, for the engineering aspect, because they do carry a registration for architectural as well, under the same name.
Okay, all right. And then we have Proficient Engineering, Inc., Side Plate Systems, Inc., and Torgy and Associates, Inc. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the Licensed Services Division of the DCP to
So moved.
authorize the corporate practice of engineering?
Oh, so moved.
Thank you, Robert.
Second,
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing on that, motion carries. And we had one applicant for reinstatement, Marisa Harte, been continuously licensed in another state and has not signed any documents in Connecticut. Richard,
I
You have
did
a
review
motion?
her application. She was licensed in New York, right next door, and she was working in New York, but she has recently moved, I believe, into Connecticut. So she's reinstating her license in Connecticut, and she did provide a document that said she did not seal any drawings in the state of Connecticut. So I moved to approve her reinstatement.
is there a second?
Second,
Thank you, John. All those in favor of the motion to reinstate Marisa Harte, say aye. Aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Hearing on that, motion carries. And then Bob Doan reviewed Andrew Braum and Eric Lawton for reinstatement.
I make a motion to reinstate Andrew Braum and Eric Lawton.
Second. Oh,
Thank you, John.
okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Jane, on this one, on these, as long as an applicant has been continually licensed in another state and has not performed any work in Connecticut, they don't pay any back fees, and we reinstate them. Process of the purpose of the reinstatement is to document that action, of course, and to in cases when the applicant has done some work in Connecticut, it's to recognize that they were competent during the period of the lapse. So in this case, all the applicants had not been working in Connecticut during their lapse. We had a few extra applications. And I did not receive the comments from Rob Lewandowski. Did anybody else? Barbara, by any chance?
I didn't see anything from him.
No, so since this went out late, I don't think he was,
Right.
aware. So those, I'm gonna recommend a motion to table Miller and Moffett. Does that make sense? Do we have any choice?
So,
Barbara, if you have them and you want to email them to me, I'll take a quick look at them if you want.
Well, while Richard, while Bob's doing that, we could also do a little research on one that was sent to me, but I don't see it on the agenda anywhere. Meltzer.
Yeah, there were two,
I received Meltzer and Hart.
okay. There were two permit class 1 credit part 1. One is the one that you have, Tony, which is
Meltzer, yes, he's class 1 credit part 1.
Right, and then John DeWolf had one, Ian Garcia Kenny is the other one that he had. Under permit class 1 credit part 1.
I have one that's not listed.
Right, that's Ian Kenny. He should,
That's
Ian
Ian.
Garcia.
All
Right,
right, let's do them one at a time, all right? While Bob may be looking at Miller and Moffett. I looked at Meltzer, a UConn graduate in 14. And a master's in environmental, interesting program. In 21, Meltzer has a master's in environmental contaminated site remediation.
Wow.
That's a master's. After his BS in civil engineering at 14. He's applying for class 1, credit part 1. My recommendation is to approve the application for Mr. Meltzer. Is there a motion to accept my recommendation?
So moved.
Thank you,
So,
Richard.
oh, second.
Thank you, Robert. All those in favor of the motion to approve Meltzer, say aye. Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. I have also reviewed Philip Hart applying for class 4 reciprocity with a technology degree back in 05, needs 7 years, certainly has that. He's registered at least in Florida until February of 23rd. So my recommendation would be to approve Philip Hart for reciprocity based on his education, experience, and current stature as a licensee. Is there a motion to accept my recommendation?
So moved.
Richard,
I'll second.
thank you, John. All those in favor of the motion to approve Philip Hart for reciprocity, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. John DeWolf reviewed Kai Fu for, I don't know what.
It's, I believe it's for class 4. He meets class 4, so I will move approval of Fu for class 4. It wasn't
Okay.
clear on what I got.
Second.
Thank you, Richard. We approve. All those in favor of the motion to approve Kai Fu for class 4 reciprocity, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. I will say also, our own application, the information you want doesn't strike you right in the face, you really have to go looking for it. But
okay.
You know, there's no place to even check off the fact that you're looking for class 4. I just look at, Colleen Byrne. It doesn't tell you what they're looking for.
Right.
It's our application, but it's lacking. There's not even a place to. You would think that in the first column on the first page, check the box. Okay, I'm here for reciprocity. But the other stuff they ask you for is, they just tell you what's required. It doesn't give you all the information you need. Anyway, someday we'll work on that. All right, then we have Richard Swezak review Chad Forster and Demetrios Malones. Again, we assume that's class 4.
Correct.
Yes, that is class 4. And I guess the question I have for Demetrios Mylonis, it's not an NCAAS application. It's
Correct.
an application that he submitted by himself. But
That's
when
right.
I look at the documentation for the verification of education, there's, again, it's missing a school seal that's mandatory. Basically, I'm not sure if it was filled out by, his secretary or somebody, but, there's not a seal from the school to verify that it was definitely from, I guess the Manhattan College.
I actually did receive that from them. I got it. Yeah, I did receive the email from Manhattan College from them.
Okay, if you did, then it's just
Yes.
missing the seal,
Got it.
just double checking and
No, I
dotting the
appreciate
i's and
that.
crossing the T's then. So, I
Yeah.
mean, if it was received from the Manhattan College, then I'll make a motion that we approve both Forster and Mylonis.
Is there a second to the motion to approve them?
Second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor of the motion to approve Chad Forster and Demetrios Malones for class 4 reciprocity, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And then we're left with Miller and Moffett, if Bob had had a chance to review.
Yes, I have. And they're both model law engineers. And I always hear about schools that I haven't heard. I've never heard of Rose Holman Institute of Technology. But he's a model law engineer. He has a Bachelor of Science, a master's, and a doctorate degree. And
So
also,
who's that, Miller?
that was Miller. Yes.
See, interesting, there you go. He's a model law engineer, which I guess the master's and PhD override the technology, because NCAAS still debates whether or not a technology degree qualifies as model law,
Mhm.
whether or not you have experience. Anyway, that's interesting to note.
Yeah. Moffett is went to RPI. He's a model law engineer, 15 years, 5 months experience. And he has a license that is good until 2024. And I make a motion to approve both Miller and Moffett.
Thank you, Bob.
Second,
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of the motion to approve Joseph Miller and Dominic Moffett for class 4 reciprocity, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Bob,
I hope Rob Lewandowski had the same conclusion.
I'm sure he did.
So,
And then we have one more, Bob, you have to talk one more time. Jeepsy Patel.
Patel, I make a motion to approve Jeepsy Patel.
Is a second?
second,
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of the motion to approve Jeepsy Patel for reciprocity, say aye. Aye.
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries.
Tony, there was one that I had on the agenda. I don't know, while I was going and sending the stuff to Bob just now. Did you guys get a chance to look at Ian Garcia Kelly? That was somebody I think I gave to John.
I didn't hear what Barbara said, but I have reviewed Ian Garcia
Thank you.
Kennedy for Class 1 Credit Part 1, and I recommend approval.
Thank you.
Second,
Thank you, Richard. All those in favor of the motion to approve, Ian, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ironically, Ian, I'm sure he's listening because he's the individual who came in to tell me that I was supposed to be on the meeting this morning. So Ian, you had to wait through the whole meeting, but now you can take the exam and go back to work.
Congratulations, Ian.
And I think that concludes our agenda.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Yes,
Somewhat, what did we say? We bounced around a little this morning, but we did okay.
we did. We're good.
Under the circumstances, I think that was a good effort. And
Could I
appre-
possibly get the first name of Meltzer?
Meltzer. I had Meltzer. That's
Yes.
Joseph P. Meltzer.
Okay, and this last individual was Ian Garcia - Kelly?
Kenny.
Kenny, okay, thank you.
So without Al, who's gonna step up?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn
That was good.
and add happy holidays to everybody and enjoy your time off and good family.
Thank
Okay.
you, Richard.
You
I'll
too.
second that,
Well-
and happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you,
Okay.
Bob. And Barbara, is this farewell? Officially? No.
No,
Actually,
Can't be.
Jane is still, I told Jane she could have me on speed dial if she needs to call me. So she already, so I'll just be in the background for a little bit and then that's it. So I'll tell you for sure. And I'll probably see you and Tony and John next week. I guess we'll see each other
That's
at the state
correct.
office building.
Yes.
Yeah. Can't wait
Okay.
for that.
Yeah, that's at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, it'll be nice to see what the building looks like. I've never seen it since they redid it, so that'll be
Oh,
kind
they
of cool.
redid it?
Oh my God, they gutted the building and everything. So
That's where we first met.
you got it.
yeah,
Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
Is there still a parking lot across the street?
Yes, there is. There is a section there that is just like a little walkway, but it's nice. Yeah. So
So
the
we-
parking lot is still there.
So we check in at the guard there and come upstairs.
Correct. Yep.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. We'll see you then next Wednesday. And everybody else, have a good holiday. And John, looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Take care.
thank you. Welcome, Jane.
Bye.
Welcome.
Okay.
Happy holidays.
All right.